Okay, seeing that it's 7:01, I'd like to call the April 22nd Somersworth School Board meeting to order. Packed agenda tonight.
Maggie Larson.
Here.
Carrie Clark. Here. Sarah Bryan Hart. Here. Crystal D. St. Croix.
Excused.
Marsha Brown.
Here.
Bridget Jameson.
Here.
Carly Prescott.
All right. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Buckle up. We have a lot to discuss this evening. Are there any comments by visitors this evening? Nope. Okay, any comments by board members this evening? Anything to start? All right, the consent calendar has our school board meeting minutes from April 8th and the Building Grounds Transportation and Safety Committee meeting minutes from April 9th. Since board member D. St. Croix isn't here, is there someone from Building Grounds that just can give us a quick update, just to think about it when we go to committee reports? I think you spoke about Maplewood and the walkway. So what's the wish of the board to adopt these two items from the consent calendar?
I make a motion to adopt the two items 3.1 and 3.2 on the consent calendar as presented.
Great. Do we have a second? Okay, great. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, great. All right, our reports. Our student representative report is not Nina. Victoria. So, yeah, thank you for coming here on kind of short notice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fine. So the end of the year is rapidly approaching. A reminder that the high school will be holding graduation ceremonies on Friday, June 6th at 6 p.m. at the UNH Whittemore Center. All senior families will receive a letter with additional information in just a few weeks. There are many other events and activities in May and June to celebrate the end of the year and the class of 2025, including a senior banquet and a parade of graduates through our classes. Seniors' last day is Monday, June 2nd. The senior high school class of 2026 will hold their prom on Saturday, May 17th from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Portsmouth Country Club. The theme of the event is A Night to Remember, and tickets are now on sale. On Friday, Somersworth High School recognized around 130 students for our Topper Privilege Pass. This was given to students with excellent attendance, high academic achievements, and who have followed all of our rules and expectations. Students with this pass are trusted with greater freedoms and independence. Congratulations to those who have earned the pass for all 4 quarters. Today, Somersworth High School welcomed a team of educators from throughout New England for our NEASC accreditation event. This once-in-a-decade process helps us to reflect on where we are at with the school and plan future priorities. The visiting team spent today touring the school, meeting with groups, and observing classrooms. They'll be back again tomorrow to finish their work and finalize the report. A special thank you to all parents and families who have donated their time to meet with the committee. Finally, thank you to Student Council for organizing our annual Spring Spirit Week. Each day has been assigned a different theme and building decorated to show our school spirit. This Friday, we will have a special afternoon of activities for students. That's all I have, and we just hope everyone has a great break.
So much. I just have to mention that I ran into an old Somersworth High School educator, Mr. Cummings, today, and he was just so proud of Somersworth, and he was the math teacher at Somersworth High School for a while and a baseball teacher, and I invited him back, so he may be coming into the school or coming in. But when he was there, he said 850 students were at Somersworth High School. And he's like, and our superintendent, John Powers, said once we hit 900, we'll have to expand, but it never quite got to 900. So that's, I don't even know. Can you imagine that many kids in the school? I don't know. It's like 380 now. So thank you so much, Natalia. All right, have a great break. Our superintendent's report, 4.2.
I was going to mention NEAS, but Natalia did a very nice job of that. It's a once every 10-year process, and this is the 2-year pre-conference. So 2 years from now will be the full assessment. And I'm not sure if Chris Tebow shared it with the board or not. I will do so if he didn't. But the report is just exceptional because I've seen a fair number of these. And in terms of just thoughtfully providing evidence for every standard within NEASC and just engaging the whole high school. At times it's somewhat torturous work given all that the faculty need to do from day to day and week to week through the course of a school year, but it's a really impressive report. And we met with, Katie Cat and I, among others, met with the team middle of the day today, and I know they have a lot of respect for what they've seen thus far at that point. And I know the students were a big part of that, and thank you for mentioning it, Natalia.
And Superintendent Shea, I just say that the school board's kind of written in on page 45 or something that we're not a part of the process, but I'm sure we'll get an update on. I'd love to see kind of what comes out of it, even if, they're kind of removed from the involvement for some
Yeah.
reason. So just want to let you know that's why we're kind of just not super involved.
The full report, though, is worth it's not short. It's 145 pages, but scan through and look through the introduction. It's pretty powerful, and 2 years from now will be the full 10-year process. Secondly, just an update that the City Council Finance Committee a couple weeks ago, and then the City Council last night, approved the resolution to dedicate $200,000 of our fund balance at the end of the year to next year's budget, which we had built into our budget proposal from the get-go. And the finance manager, Scott, and the city manager noted that we should have asked for it ahead of time. The city council worked with us to get the resolution done, so that's officially done. That's $200,000 that was already in the budget, and just secured the mechanics of that. City council, well, I think our counselor is going to mention that, so I won't mention that. Lawsuit update, just quickly. The school district engaged in a lawsuit with the National Educators Association, the NEA, and the ACLU, and Oyster River School District, and Dover School District, and Hanover School District. Portsmouth is not part of it, and one school district in Vermont and Norwich. And the lawsuit is against the February 14th U.S. Department of Education Dear Colleagues letter, which basically stipulates that elements of diversity, equity, and inclusion, those values, those programs in certain forms and shapes may be at odds with federal law and may be at odds with continuing to receive federal funding. So we have stood firm on the fact that those ideas, even though we don't have a DEI program per se, have always been important in our school district. And then several weeks after that letter, we were asked to certify by the New Hampshire Department of Education on behalf of the U.S. Department of Education that we were, in fact, in compliance with what they laid out as related to the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Title VI in particular, anti-discrimination. And we have joined in the suit basically to say the language is too vague and too ambiguous and unclear to us, and it flies in the face of things that have always been of value to us. So just as a matter of information, the New Hampshire Department of Education was asking for certification by April 17th. We, along with some of the other districts involved, did not sign that notification, but included an addendum that knowing that the ACLU, through our lawsuit, was asking for an injunction against this deadline, that we were holding off at this time, and we would recognize the April 24th U.S. Department of Education deadline when that came, and that, of course, is this week. So we may have an injunction issued by the district court here in New Hampshire, which tells us that that deadline no longer matters. But just as a point of reference, I will share with folks that if that deadline is not removed by injunction, working with the support of the ACLU in the lawsuit, we will sign the certification with an addendum explaining that this is our understanding of what it means, so that we can clearly state our values, clearly state how we understand it, remain firm that it is ambiguous and vague, and also at a time when matters at the federal level, I would argue, are somewhat reckless in terms of we will have no problem pulling X millions of dollars from this, that, or the other thing. We do not want to put this district at risk in that regard. So it is we would like to have our cake and eat it too kind of argument, and I think it works in this situation. So I just wanted to share that with folks. And sorry.
You'll let us know how things in the next, 24 hours, I guess?
Yeah,
or
it's coming
so.
right up. The ruling from the New Hampshire District Court very well could be on Thursday before 5 o'clock. It could be hours ahead of the deadline, so we'll be prepared to certify with an addendum explaining exactly where we stand. It doesn't jeopardize our position in this case or the things that we're arguing against, and prevents lack of signature and certification being held against us as grounds for what could be a couple $1 million, which is a big part of our budget.
John, can you just share that with the board as a memo, just
Yep.
so we can see the language that's in there? And then if something changes, just let us know as well, just so we're up to, I know things are moving quickly, but just as
Yep.
like a memo, that'd be great.
Absolutely. A reminder Natalia may or may not have mentioned this, Tuesday, May 6th, that's the Tuesday after we return from spring break, was a school day. It is no longer a school day because of the state elections for the House seat that is vacated, the primary elections, which will be a low turnout event, but nonetheless, we must dedicate our high school cafeteria and the Idlehurst cafeteria to polling stations, so that makes it very complicated to conduct the school day safely with the public being right in your building. So we have teacher workshop on that day, but no school on Tuesday, May 6th. Next week is spring break. And lastly, I'll just suggest to the board, if it makes sense, we can finalize the details, but recognizing retirees might be our second May meeting. If that makes sense, we could do that, but we'll get the word out so they can be there with their families. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. The overview of the 25-26 final budget, was that more in the business administrator report?
Looked right over that. No, I could quickly say,
Okay.
yep, if that makes sense. Katie will give more details on budget, but just as a reminder where we left off, the city council met in early April and approved a budget that was then finalized with the $200,000 balance coming forward. But just so folks are clear, a school district tax cap compliant budget would have meant about 8 to 10 personnel/program cuts at the high school, in addition to all of the non-personnel stuff that was in tier 1 and tier 2 of our cut list. And because the city council was able to find close to $460,000 over our tax cap compliant budget, the city remains tax cap compliant overall, but the schools got a little bit more than they otherwise would have. We ended up having to make 4 cuts to personnel. One of them was significant in terms of salary, so that's why it wasn't 5 or 6, but 4, and no CTC program cuts. And everybody by New Hampshire RSA needed to know by today, and I think everybody was notified, with one exception yesterday, and the last one, or yesterday, and one person this morning. So we've taken care of that for non-renewals.
All right. Now our business administrators report. Thanks.
Yes, I don't have much to report. I did note in my last update, we were waiting on some costs from some special ed court place students. We're still waiting to find out what our responsibility is. We also were notified of an additional student at another district that qualifies for special ed that we will be responsible for too. So I'm waiting on those costs.
Just for why would we be responsible as a district for the
Because they
student?
came from Somersworth but were court placed in another district.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So once we hear, I'll report back out. I also did encumber funds for additional paraprofessional. We had a move-in to the district last week that required a one-on-one paraprofessional. We may need to go with ProCare instead of hiring somebody because we can't find somebody and the need is there, so we may end up having to contract out for that. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it. We have a couple months left of the budget. Hopefully these little things will stop popping up and we'll be good. In terms of revenue, we did receive additional payments for preschool, just regular tuition monthly payments, indirect costs for our grants and Medicaid. And then I just noted on the bottom for food service, each year the board approves our contract renewal with Fresh Picks and also setting meal prices for next year. I usually bring it right around this time. I'm still waiting for Fresh Picks to send the contract renewal. Hopefully by the May 13th board meeting, I'll have it, and then we can have a first reading on that day, as well as the meal prices, and then approve at the second May meeting.
All right, great, thank you. A request just towards the end of the year, because things have been popping up with budget. And I know our school board rep on council will be able to see it, but if things can be just a little bit more, because it is a lot kind of towards the end of the year, it's not, if they can be broken down and, okay, this is happening without any personal identifying information, but like kind of helping the, someone that doesn't understand all of our needs, like court place student that was from Somersworth, placed somewhere else, we're responsible for this line, not in detail, but just for council or for others to kind of see what our responsibilities were, and it's not due to spending on other things that, but more of what our obligations are. Just for this, because we are a little tight, just to kind of have that update maybe for the May in May sometimes, I don't know, May 13th may be too early, but
Yeah, I
May
usually do the
20
second, my budget
second-
update's the second meeting.
the second one. And if you can just let, for council, like, know that that's kind of, we're going to kind of outline it a little bit clearer of like where things are going, because it's really our obligation to provide at this point, right? It's mostly special ed, right, Kate?
Yes.
Okay. Is that it? All right. Any questions? No? All right. Counselor Parity Canzero.
Yes, I am pleased to report that the city council did last night approve the resolution supporting the school board's joining of the lawsuit against the Department of Education. It was not unanimous. There was only one person who didn't support, and you can review the meeting video for specific comments, but it sounded like he was mostly concerned about not really understanding where it was going, and just in general, and is the Department of Education even going to be there? But there were a lot of really strong supportive comments from counselors, very proud of the school board for doing this, for standing up, really proud of Somersworth. And of course that resolution doesn't tie the city council in any way to the lawsuit. It just expresses our support for the school board. So that was really wonderful. I know one of the counselors had some questions just around funding, so I'm happy to hear about the updates. I think the more information, the better. When we are not updated as a council between, long periods of time, there's just, a lot of community chatter, and sometimes folks.
Because I remember some questions because I was at the city council meeting. Was it just last night?
It was just last night.
Last night.
Yes.
If there's questions specifically, it would be great to kind of funnel anyway, but to kind of let us know so we can clarify where things kind of came from historically. Sorry, Katie, but where whatever was expended and where it came from, because it's hard to remember. Like, was that in the fall from a supplemental appropriation, or where things kind of came from? So if there are questions for clarity, please let us know.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
for right
There
now,
were
kind
only
of
a
going
few of them, I think, that weren't answered within the meeting. Some of the counselors reminded the one who asked the questions, oh, this is where this came from. And I think the superintendent had some information for that
Oh, sorry.
person as well.
I'm
Jameson didn't say.
wondering if it would be beneficial at any point for the school board to, or not the school, the city council to get some sort of presentation on special education required costs, like in the laws behind them, just so that it's clear that it's not just stuff that we're kind of pulling out of the sky or like we feel like doing, that there's a legal requirement. It's just kind of putting it out there.
I think for now, especially with these costs coming through, because it seems like we have been unexpected costs coming through with move-ins and placements, and largely special ed for the spring. If we can kind of, I think that's what I would request. Maybe our special ed director, kind of in Katie, putting it on you again, to be where these are and kind of the why to it, not to kind of explain that, because I think we'll see these large costs come through and it may not be understood. So with that, with what you're saying, the same support. I'm not sure about who would be a presentation, but kind of like a sheet of what that is. I think that'll quell some understanding. Yep, Prescott.
I actually have a paper that I wrote on special education funding in New Hampshire that I can send to the board, to send to the city council. It breaks down like how special education is the largest driver of education costs rising beyond teacher salaries, and breaks down every district. And
Yeah,
has
please
information about
please
Somersworth.
share with the board, as long as we really can't deliberate on it, except to say there needs to be more funding for an unfunded mandate, especially in this district where it's over a third. Sorry to interrupt, but yep, Clark.
So this is a weird school board, as they always are. But I have a question for you, Carly. Do you think that you can maybe, have you ever put it into like the news or that paper?
The Michael Kitch is a reporter who's written about my paper a few times.
Okay. Because that'd be interesting to see or put that out there again for people to
Yeah.
maybe read for all.
Yeah,
Anyways,
we
sorry,
definitely
bring up the school
Uplift
board.
it at my work.
Oh, okay.
But we have it usually is written about once a year when we update the paper.
Okay.
But yeah, I can circulate it more.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think we're kind of all asking for like one of those like snapshot, because the data and the research is so interesting, but a snapshot of like what is happening here. And I think it's difficult to understand for a layperson, where are these costs coming from? And they are significant, and we do not have control over them. And it's not really a board matter of deliberation or discussion at all. It's just it happens, and we keep an eye on it for understanding where we could have resources other places. But all right, thank you.
In the budget binder too, we did a special ed report that outlined the number of students we had out of district. We could expand on that report that we did and give more detail.
Yeah, but for the current situation of what's happening, just to kind of see it, because
Yeah.
if this year may be a less of a return of, the revenue at the end, so with an explanation kind of preceding that would be helpful. Jameson?
I was just gonna say too, if we can really point to the fact that neither the city council or the district has control over court placements or kids moving in and transients, it's
Yep.
tricky.
Yep. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that
That was
we were
super
moving
helpful.
towards.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. And I think especially the one question that I think there's really not an answer to yet, it was around the state adequacy when we do end up getting that money towards the end of the year. A lot of times there's questions if the school board asks for that money that the legislature sends back to the school district, any detail around what that money is. And I know a lot of times it's special education is really, really helpful. Otherwise they're just like, wait, we already gave you all this money. So I think that is really helpful, any sort of resources like that. And I think a presentation in front of city council, I don't know what the timing would make sense for that, but I'm sure the mayor would be happy to add that to the agenda if that made sense. Yeah, I think that was mostly it. There was just a lot of, one of the counselors quoted the, first they came for this person, then that person, then me, and just really, really proud of the school board for stepping up for that. And I think I'm seeing an encouraging level of trust being built between the school board and the superintendent and the city council. So I think a lot of that has to do with just more transparent communication. It's always great. The other thing of note from last night's meeting is a waste management contract that in a couple of years will have us moving to totes instead of the blue bags. And so I think that's just going to be a really big community shift and some education around why that's happening. Waste management is essentially trying to update all their communities into operating this way. It's safer, saves on labor costs and insurance and things like that. But just for folks to know, that's a couple of years out, but that will be a big community shift in a couple of years.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our committee reports. We don't have too many. Budget and revenue, 5.1A. None, however, with that note of adequacy in what we were receiving, we probably should put something August sometime to like figure out if something is coming down.
That we won't get
September.
that until September
October.
15th, yeah.
Okay. Oh, September 15th.
I think is when the deadline is, yes.
Okay, so something like end of September, probably. Okay, because it would be good to anticipate, which we crystal ball can't, to say, okay, these are our needs, and kind of in anticipation of communicating, all right, what do we need, and see what we have. We won't know exactly, but to kind of speak about it before, it seems like a wishful thinking, I'll say. All right, so no budget revenue for the remainder of our school year. Building, grounds, transportation, and safety. Someone have a quick update? Oh, yeah.
So I just have her minutes from our meeting. We met on April 9th. It was Sarah, myself, Katie, and Jay, and Crystal. We talked about the Maplewood path, so the path between or behind the middle school and high school, and how it's connected to Maplewood, and it's open to the public, and they're having a little bit of issue with people coming and using it during school hours. And we talked about putting up signs that we're doing close that path to the public for school hours to make it safer for our children, not so much for our high school students and middle school students, but majority for that Maplewood population there, because it's kind of scary there. And I think that we're going to bring this to the full board to discuss if we bring it to the city council, because I think that's who owns the path. Is that correct? So city will put in that path and they maintain it. So it's kind of tricky.
I spoke to the city manager about it early on. It was a federal grant, and so the stipulations about not having full public access all the time were concerning initially, but his opinion was that if school safety was a primary issue that we could post, we'd have to go to the city to post, but they would not object to that.
Awesome. Okay, good.
It might be a let's see how it goes kind of thing.
Posting.
But yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then we discussed policy KF, the use of school facilities. We talked about who was used in school during non-school hours and for different events. And if we wanted to charge for those events, of course, it wouldn't be for any sports that use it now, for any kids' sports that use it now. Like football, middle school is not sanctioned by the school. So we want to make sure we don't charge them on other school sports too. But people that use it, that make money from their venues, we maybe want to look into charging them. And then that is it.
Great. Thank you. Ed programs and community outreach. I don't believe you've met.
We're rescheduling our meeting.
Yeah, any other time, just so we can actually have what you're speaking about on the agenda for the 13th, because it's getting tight with the first reads and second reads. Personnel and Negotiations Committee? Yep.
We have, Carrie and I, Vice Chair and I met with the negotiating team for CESPA fourth time. And it's all been productive, but we've gotten into the weeds on a variety of things. We now have tentative agreements on everything except for one position, which was a conversion of a hourly position to salaried, but keeping it within the CESPA negotiations has gotten a little bit complicated. So we'll have one last sit down to agree to that, make sure our Personnel and Negotiations Committee is good with everything, and then bring it to the board, and we'll do that quickly.
Yeah, we'll have to just think about the timing on that with however it works for the June 1st deadline, but I think we could make it work or waive rules, but whenever that's ready. Let's see. Eyes on 30 City Committee, I'm not sure if there's anything there. Arts and Culture would be great, but that's on pause. Policy Committee,
Nothing yet.
nothing yet, yeah. May 6th and perhaps one more policy meeting to round out the year. We won't have, well, we may have some in June, but the June meeting for all best intentions to have second reads, not first reads, because to have a first read go over the summer isn't ideal. A special education ad hoc?
It's really a lot more of the same. It's like, okay, we saw, what was it, Katie, like a 300,000 increase in para support or contracted paras. That was way before, but it's really just the needs are there, and so we're supplying the kids with what they need. Yeah, so it's a lot more of the same. We're bound by federal law and obligations to follow through on that.
If we had, like with another high need student or two, in the next month or two, would we have to take action for like would we potentially have to get a supplemental appropriation? Are we like writing that? Depends. It just depends.
You're at the end of school, so the amounts will lessen, obviously, but it's hard to know.
Okay. It's hard to know kind of the front end loaded with what programming looks like too. So, and I think we'll have to kind of think about that if there's other supports in with paras and I guess paras really is maybe a call out to our community, an email out that I'm not sure if that's a committee, full board thing, but at some point while there's hiring in anticipation of the summer, just to kind of get the word out to our district mail for everyone to say, here's our contract, here's our need. Please come to the table, please, whoever that is, share with others, and kind of a softer plea to get, wonderful paraprofessionals in our buildings, because it's always a struggle to get folks, and when we need to contract out, it's much more expensive. All right, no presentations, no policies, no new business, no old business. Future meeting dates, ed programs, thank you for adjusting whenever you can meet in May. Policy, May 6th, and another one. And then our school board, last three, May 13th, May 27th. May 27th, we'll have our 5:30 PM start for the New Hampshire School Board Association. Full board, others are welcome too. So 5:30 on the 27th and June 10th. Okay, any comments by visitors? Comment? No? Okay. No? No, all right. Two people in the room. Comments by board members? Oh, yeah, I'll start down there.
I just pulled up my report, and I just wanted to say that there are 70 districts in the state of New Hampshire that spend over 25% of their overall budget on special education services, Somersworth being one of them. In 2024, we spent 29.42% of our budget on special education services, and that includes transportation.
Wow.
Brentwood spent 46% of their budget on special education costs.
Now, how does that work with Brentwood being at the, are they part of SAU 16? I wonder, yeah, it's more
Brentwood,
complicated down there, but yeah.
SAUs and districts are different.
Oh, yeah.
Brentwood operates an elementary school,
Oh, okay,
and then they send their students to Exeter Regional High School.
okay. Right, thank you.
I was just going to say that I wasn't at the last school board meeting, and so I did want to thank the city council because I watched that meeting, and I feel like they made a lot of difficult decisions in the spirit of making Somersworth overall better, and I just really appreciated it, and I appreciated the discourse and the help, really, in a really tough situation. So,
Yeah. No, good, good, Bram. Yep, Clark.
So I apologize. I thought that John, you guys mentioned about the students that was passed away this past week. So so there was a student passed away that I think we all know, and their services are coming up for April 24th. So that's this Thursday from 4 to 6 at Tasker Funeral Home. If anybody wants to go, that's in Dover. I just want to make sure that was put out there. But thank you. That's it.
Anything down here? Good. All right, I was here at City Council. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have a community dinner on May 15th at the Legion at 5 p.m. And I just want to wish everyone kind of a connected, safe, restorative spring break next week. We're off on break. Maine has been notoriously off on break this week because everyone's out. It's just go over the border and there's kids everywhere, and it's like, oh, right, it's here, no school, no truant officer doing anything. So everyone have a safe, healthy, happy break, and then May we'll start mental health awareness. We're lighting up City Hall green, so is Rochester and Dover. The Tri-Cities are doing it together, so something to kind of focus on. And a lot of students are also doing the ICE challenge. If you've seen that, it is to speak about mental health and reduce the stigma about everything concerning that. So, do we have a non-public?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now, looking for a motion to go into non-public per 91A32B for hiring, resignations, and renominations for 25-26.
I'll make a motion that we go into non-public pursuant to RSA 91A:3 Roman 2 small b.
Right, do I have a second? Okay, roll call, please.
Maggie Larson,
Yes.
Carrie Clark, Sarah Bryan Hart, Marcia Brown,
Yes.
Bridget Jamison, Carly
Yes.
Prescott,